Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Sami Bukhsh, a life coach, a public speaker and English language teacher. आज के इस लाइव सेशन में I warmly welcome all of you. Can you confirm? क्या आप में से वो लोग जो मुझे देख रहे हैं, क्या ये confirm कर सकते हैं कि मेरी आवाज आ रही है? Am I audible to you?
Hello.
Hello, Verity. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Sami. How are you?
Can you hear me, Verity?
I can. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
That's weird because my microphone's working. Nothing? Let me try this. Hold on a second.
Let me check the voice here. Yes.
Yeah.
It's clear now.
Is it working now? Well, there we go.
Right.
It's traveling up from Africa.
Right. So, okay. So let's a very, very good evening to you, Verity Price from Pakistan. Thank you very much for joining in.
Wonderful to be here.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and a beautiful sunny day.
Right. So this is the 1 o'clock. So I should say this is the good noon to you.
Here we go.
Right. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And thank you very much for being here on at sharp time, 4 o'clock here in Pakistan.
My pleasure.
So can we begin it now?
I'm ready.
Right. So let me introduce you to all the people in Pakistan here. So hello, all the people in Pakistan and South Africa. I am Sami Bukhsh here, a host in today's session. With me is the world champion of public speaking, Verity Price from South Africa. So here the show is on. So Verity, please tell us something about yourself. First of all, the people don't know about you here.
Wow, I'm a mixture of things. I'm a speaker, a singer, a dreamer. I was the girl who was afraid of speaking when I was at school. So the last thing I was ever going to be was a world champion of public speaking, if you'd asked any of my friends. But after I left school, I started songwriting when I was at university. And with the songs came a dream to possibly sing them one day. So I had to face my fear. I had to overcome my stage fright. And I did that in two ways. The first was my father passed away. And sometimes it takes losing someone and being reminded that life is short and fragile and fleeting that makes us wake up and have the courage to go in the direction of our dreams. And the second thing I did was I hired a coach. I got an amazing voice coach. I was living in America at the time, and an amazing man named Joe. And Joe was teaching me how to sing, but he was mainly teaching me how to be confident. And Joe's way of teaching confidence to someone who was so afraid of being on stage was to make everything go wrong. So he would knock over the mic, he would turn up the music, he would shout at me while I was singing, and I would get startled, and he'd say, Verity, you just keep going. Whatever goes wrong, you keep going on. And so I did. And over 5 months, Joe taught me what I believe is the key to confidence is learning to be okay with things not being okay. Because when we're okay with things not being okay, then we're not afraid to take chances. We're not afraid to take risks. So I started singing. I crowdfunded an album. I became a speaker. And now here I am many years later as the world champion of public speaking but only because I've learned that it's okay for things not to be okay, and that allows me to take bigger risks.
Right. So the first lesson I've learned from you here, that's go on, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Right. Wonderful. So let's begin talking about public speaking here. The session, the core discussion of here is public speaking. So first of all, Verity, how do you define public speaking?
Public speaking is the minute you're speaking to two or more people. So if you're at work having to speak to people in a meeting, or if you're at a big conference speaking to the entire audience, you are speaking in public. In fact, whether you're tweeting or commenting, that is also public speaking. It's putting our voice into a public space. And my hope is that everyone learns how to be confident doing that.
Right. So when you became world champion of public speaking 2021, how much time did it take you to be prepared for that?
Wow. So I think it was Bill Gates said that we overestimate what we can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can achieve in 10. I've been speaking professionally for 10 years, or 12 years now, actually, even before I joined Toastmasters. And so I've been on a speaking journey for a long time. When I entered the contest in March last year, I had already been working on that speech for 3 months, the speech that ultimately became my semi-final speech. And so I worked on that one speech for a solid 9 months. By the time I got to the semi-finals, the speech that I won the World Championship of Public Speaking, I wrote numerous speeches, but the one I competed with, I wrote 100 days before the contest. And I spent an average of 2 to 4 hours a day working on that speech, rehearsing it, filming it, getting feedback, working with my coach. So we're talking a lot of time, a lot of hours.
Right. So what about the people who prepare a night before their presentation and they stand up to speak? What do you think about those people?
I think there's a time and a place for that kind of presenting, but I can't remember who said it. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So sometimes doing things in the last minute means that we get by, but do we shine? And preparation is what gives you the opportunity to at least know that you've given yourself the best chance to shine. Preparing on the back foot in the last minute, you can get by, but will you shine? And that's the question. I think giving yourself a bit more lead time makes a big difference.
Definitely. All right. Wonderfully explained by you. All right. Some people here in Pakistan, they don't know what Toastmaster is. So can you put some light in so that people can join Toastmaster from Pakistan? More people can join.
Oh, absolutely. So Toastmasters is an international organization. It's over 90 years old, and its entire purpose and mission is to help people build their self-confidence so that they can become the best communicator and the best leader that they can be. And sometimes people don't know that about Toastmasters. They think it's just about public speaking, but it's actually more about learning to lead, because when you can learn to communicate powerfully, you will inspire and motivate others, which will make you a leader. So when you join a Toastmasters club in your area, you'll have 20 to 30 members and a really safe place to practice speaking, practice leadership. And through joining that one club, you've essentially joined over 16,000 clubs around the world and become part of an international organization that offers its members opportunities like the one I was afforded to become a world champion, or to become a leader in the organization and practice those skills that you can take back into your life. So it's the cheapest self-development in the world. I think it's $45 every 6 months. You will not find more reasonable but more valuable self-development and professional development anywhere you go.
Right. So it's more about public speaking, communication, leadership skills.
Yeah.
Right. So when did you join Toastmasters International?
I joined in 2011, so 11 years ago this month. And I joined for fun. I was already speaking professionally. I just thought this will be fun for me. And it gave me community. I was in transition between going from being a professional singer to becoming a professional speaker. And I got very involved in the leadership side. I've loved the leadership, the opportunity to mentor members, to grow clubs, to lead areas and divisions. It's been incredible. And then along the way, I've been able to compete a lot.
Right. So see, Verity, since we have had COVID-19, a lot of things have been converted to online.
Yeah.
So a lot of people here, my students and some of my friends, they think and they ask me about public speaking and online. So can a fresher improve public speaking skills by attending any online program?
100%. I run a presenting skills course and I've been doing it online for 2 years, and I'm blown away how people's confidence improves, how their engagement with a virtual space can improve. And Toastmasters has made that possible for all its members because the organization immediately swapped over to Zoom and Teams and allowed their members to get really good at the virtual presenting, because everyone was having to do that back at work. And you don't want to sit in one of these meetings and be the quiet little box who doesn't add any value. So you 100% can improve your speaking skills in an online space.
Right. So, see, Verity, as we see you the best public speaker in the world at the moment. So, what do you think? What are the characteristics of some of great public speaker? Major characteristics.
Major characteristics. The first one I'm going to start with is authenticity, where who they are is on the stage, and it's not, you don't feel like they're putting on an act. You know that the person that they are is on the stage speaking to you. So authenticity is probably the number one skill. Number two characteristics of all great speakers is their message. Speakers that we remember, speakers that we are moved by, had a message that mattered to us, and they delivered it powerfully. They owned their message. And this is where it can get controversial, because there are political figures that we might not believe in their politics or their policies, but they were great public speakers. They had a message that they got people to believe in. That's maybe the danger of being a great speaker, is you can move people in dangerous directions. But that authenticity, that person being 100% true to themselves and delivering a message, those are the two core ones. And then storytelling. We love listening to people who can tell a story and who can take us on a journey and who are having fun while they're speaking. There's nothing worse than watching someone who you can see is just, I just want to get through this. We want to see someone, hey, I'm here. Let me tell you about this time. I learned this lesson. And those are the characteristics that I think make a huge difference for being a compelling public speaker.
Right. So you have just mentioned three major characteristics: authenticity, message, and the third one I am missing out.
Storytelling.
Right, storytelling. So Verity. So look, do you offer any storytelling program as well?
I do. So in my Present with Power course, I also have a Find Your Story course. And I normally do it with businesses to help find their business story, so that when they're speaking to customers, when they're speaking to suppliers, they're all speaking from their hearts. And it's a wonderful process for people to look into their lives and into their businesses and find those short sometimes, but powerful stories that touch people.
Right. So as we have thousands of students here, they're looking to pursue their career and make their future. So when it comes to public speaking, people are in doubts. So what do you think? What is the scope of public speaking in the present and the future?
So let me just understand the question again. So they doubt themselves?
No, they doubt the public speaking, that is it worth it? Does it have scope?
Okay. I'll quote Warren Buffett, who said 50% of your success in business comes from your ability to communicate your ideas effectively. So just think about the last time you were in a meeting or in a social setting. Who are the people you remember? The people who were speaking, and they didn't have to be speaking a lot, but when they spoke, did they add value? Did they summarize what had been said? Did they reflect back in a positive way so that they stayed with you? And public speaking is ultimately how we lead. So 100%, if you're not building your ability to communicate effectively, you're not building your ability to succeed.
Right. So it has a scope, right? We believe that. Can it serve as a part-time or a full-time job?
It can be a full-time job for a very small group of people. It's not easy to make it a full-time job. For a lot of people, it's a lovely part-time, they add it to their work and they do little engagements here and there. But it can be a full-time engagement for people who have maybe achieved huge success in the business world or accomplished something extraordinary on a physical level, and suddenly they're on the circuit and speaking all around the world.
Right. So if it is a full-time or a part-time job, how much can a public speaker earn on a monthly basis?
So it will depend on the country you're in. And I know people always kind of want to know, what do I earn in dollars? But sometimes you're working in your home country and people are paying you in your home currency. So if I look in South Africa, what a good month, like an okay month and a really good month for myself as a professional speaker, it could be anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000. But if I was doing the same work in America, it would be more like $15,000 to $30,000 because they have a much higher price point. So it depends where you're speaking, because your speakers on the American circuit are charging anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 a talk.
Right.
Getting the booking is another story, but those are the kind of rates that top speakers are charging. So it really it does depend, and it's a bit like a lottery. You can't become a public speaker thinking, I'm definitely going to win, I'm definitely going to make all the money. You have to come from the heart. The money does follow, but it can take a while.
It can take a while. People here, they are in a hurry. They want to be rich over a night. So
no, this is not the industry for that, unless you have literally climbed Mount Everest backwards naked and everyone's paying you to speak about it. It's difficult to become, a millionaire overnight with speaking. Right. It's a journey.
If I look at your journey since 2011 to 2021, it took you more than 10 years to be a world champion. So your life also gives us a great message of consistency, right? Okay.
100%. You have to keep showing up, and you have to trust the process, because your ego wants the fame, your soul wants the journey.
Definitely right. So we have to trust the process. Okay, so we have a few more questions. People here, a lot of people are going to Toastmasters now. We are opening up new clubs. Here, and still there are some questions. What is the best certification of public speaking in the world?
I mean, you can join a professional speakers association, and each country has them, and within that you can become a certified speaking professional, and I think that's the most professionally recognized certification. You can become an accredited speaker through the Toastmasters program. I think only 80 speakers have ever been accredited, so a bit like there's only ever been 80 world champions. It's not easy to get. Winning something like the World Championship of Public Speaking is a wonderful accolade. But I think from a professional speaking perspective, joining the recognized speaking organizations and then having your Toastmasters credentials coming with that, that's probably the best mix.
Right. So see, if you can name a few of these institutions internationally, so people here can notice and then they can join.
So and I think it's in America, the National Speaking Association. Here we've got the Professional Speaking Association of South Africa. So it will generally have the word Speaking Association. It might have your country name in the beginning. So it's just to look at professional speaking associations, and you should be able, but the National Speaking Association in America is widely recognized, and then they've got it in Europe. So I imagine it's all over the world.
Right, that's all over the world. So have you been a part of any of these associations?
I am a professional member of the Professional Speakers Association of South Africa.
South Africa, right. So can you tell me a few of your programs, which are the top rated programs of public speaking that you personally offer?
So mine is the Present with Power and Find Your Story. Those are 6-week courses, so 6 sessions, either over 6 weeks or over 12 weeks, depending if people want a gap in between. And I take them through the fundamentals of speaking. They get to deliver numerous speeches with feedback and build on working into delivering really powerful speeches. I've been doing that for about 8 or 9 years already. So I can just add on everything I've learned becoming world champion is getting put into those programs.
Right.
And then I coach speakers one-on-one. So when people have got a big conference coming up or they're competing, then I work with them one-on-one to really craft their speech.
Wonderfully. So there are 2 points for the people watching me in Pakistan. Verity Price offers a public speaking program, and she is also a public speaking coach. She coaches people one on one. So, Verity, if someone here from Pakistan wants to join you for your public speaking program, what are the details?
Hop onto my website, iamverity.com, and you can email me through there. I normally run the courses within corporations and businesses. So I am looking to create a public one. So if I get enough people asking for the course, we'll put it together at a time that works for everyone, and we'll start running it, and we'll start the journey of discovery.
Right, that's wonderful. So if any company or looking for their employees public speaking improvement, so they can get to you, and you can offer a program, customized program for them.
Absolutely. And I've been doing that for years, and it's very fulfilling to see that confidence growing, and also to see how the team members get to know each other better through the stories that they share in the course. It's really special.
Wonderful. So if it's a group of 12 to 15 people, what's the price range?
So I'm going to have to get back to you on that, because it's very different to how I'm running it in the corporates. So I actually, off the top of my head, I think, I don't know also what currency you would want it in, but you'd be looking at probably $5,000 for a group of 10 to 15 people.
Right, $5,000.
$5,000 to $8,000. That's off the top of my head. My business manager will kill me for saying numbers out loud.
All right. So, okay, so we'll get to your business manager here. If anybody is interested in joining Verity Price's program, so you have to go to iamverity.com and email her, and she'll get back to you. There's a message from me here. All right. So, Verity, as a public speaker, and you have been working and you have been teaching, who is your favorite public speaker?
There's so many. I mean, I love Simon Sinek. I love Brené Brown. They're the ones everyone loves. But why? They're authentic and they have a message that matters. Sean Akor, who speaks on positive psychology, one of my all-time favorites, because the love of his topic just comes out of him. And then from a Toastmasters perspective, my all-time favorite world champion was Lance Miller. Just loved it. And that's why I chose him as my coach last year. I just loved his message that if we validated everyone, our lives would be a lot simpler.
Right. So these are the top speakers you like. And when you were training to be a public speaker, so you hired a world champion? Right.
I did last year when I was competing.
Right. So is it important that we have to hire somebody top rated?
I think if you're competing in the world championships, I think it makes a huge difference. I've spoken to many finalists and winners of the world championships, and over 70% of them worked with a coach to get them to the final stage. And about 15 or 20% of them paid for that coaching. So I paid for my coaching because I was investing in my dreams. And I think so much is asked of world champions now that they have to charge. But I'm so grateful that I invested, because the speeches I delivered were as a result of my relationship with my coach.
Fantastic. So some of the people love reading books here. So can you tell us which books are the best on public speaking?
Top of my head, I can't think. I mean, there's so many books. You can buy my book, Present with Power, but I don't know if it's the best one. There's so many. I'm trying to think if there's anything that jumps out. So not a book, but a course that I loved and that I also did last year while I was preparing is Prez Vasilev, who was the 2013 world champion. He has a compelling storytelling course, and that is well worth investing in.
For the last time when I was looking to improve my public speaking, I got in touch with Prez Vasilev there, and he talked to me. It was nice, great discussion with him. Fantastic. So people who are looking to enroll for a public speaking program, so storytelling program of world champion of public speaking 2013, you can join him. Right. That's nice. So there are a lot of questions I've been asking you. Are you comfortable answering me, or I have a lot more questions? Right. It's all right. That's all right. So, Verity, what when we have a public speaking coach and we are working to improve our public speaking skills. So, I mean, do we have to manage a very tough schedule, or we can just improve it with our job and studies?
So you can absolutely do it over time. I don't think this is something you want to rush, but I do think it's something that you want to be investing, a few hours of every month into. And that's why Toastmasters is often a lovely, gentle place to start, because the club meets maybe once or twice a month, and you can sign up to do a speech or a different role at the meeting. And then you know that you're investing that time in your public speaking. When you start to take it maybe a bit more seriously, or you need to take it to the next level for your work, then you might start working with a coach and pushing yourself a bit more. But a couple of hours a month invested in working on the skill can go a long way.
That's great. So here in Pakistan, we don't speak English as an official, no, as a mother tongue. English is our second language here. So a lot of people are confused about it. So does public speaking have anything to do with English language?
No, no, it doesn't. I think for international work, it is the international language of doing business, so it helps. But if you are a public speaker in your native tongue in your home country, you can be highly successful, and what a great captive audience, people who speak your language, who want to hear your stories. So English has got nothing to do with public speaking, in my opinion.
That's true, right? So lots of people here. Okay, so let me give a message to the people in Pakistan, all the people here listening to me and watching me with Verity Price. English language has nothing to do with public speaking. You can speak, you can improve public speaking, and you can speak in your mother tongue. Right, that's nice. That's great talking to you so far, and that's been nice. A few more questions are coming up. And Verity, what is your educational background?
I have got an undergraduate degree in psychology and anthropology. So I'm fascinated with how the mind works and how cultures engage and interact with each other. And that's ended up coming into the work I do as a facilitator. I work in businesses, I facilitate team culture, team strategy. So it's come through in the work I do, but it was something I studied because I loved the subjects.
Right. So at the moment, after becoming a public world champion, do you have any big change in your life, or it's been running the same way it was?
It's very busy. Lots of lovely interviews like this, lots of keynotes around the world, a lot of TV interviews. So it's been very busy.
It's been very busy. So are you not looking to go for the master's degree in psychology?
Not at the moment, to be honest. I've got a 2.5-year-old little boy. I've got a very busy career. But maybe down the line, I've got a wonderful aunt who became a doctor in psychology when she was 60. So there's no rush. There's time. And especially with studying, I think the more life experience you have, something like psychology, it doesn't matter when you pick it up again.
Right. So, okay, how is life in South Africa? If I ask you just about the people in Pakistan, they may be wondering. There's a time zone, it's a different time zone here. It's 1 o'clock there, it's 4 o'clock here. So how is the lifestyle here of a typical woman there in South Africa?
South Africa it's a very diverse country. I live in Cape Town, so I'm right at the tip of Africa. And Cape Town is very different to the rest of South Africa. We have quite conflicting politics in our country. We've got 11 official languages. So there are 11 languages. We have so many diverse cultures, religions, races that all live together. So we called the Rainbow Nation because we are so diverse as a country. We're united by our love of this country, the love of our music, of our food, of our landscapes. But as a typical woman, it's not a very safe country to live in. So I have to be aware of my personal safety. We have a lot of crime, unfortunately, because we have a lot of poverty. So we're a beautiful country to visit. The tourism is amazing, but when you get here, you will see there's a big divide between the people who have a lot and the people who have nothing. And it's a very difficult thing that is many decades in the making and not easy to fix.
Right. So where, I mean, what about the literacy rate of South Africa, if you talk about education in South Africa?
So our education is also very divided. We have very good schools, and then the bulk of our population, unfortunately, are at underserved schools where they sometimes are going to school with no food to eat. They're trying to learn while they're hungry. So we have a big problem in education, unfortunately, because we have people with so much talent and potential, but actually educating them and even getting access to a school when there's no money is very hard.
Yeah, okay. So it's going through some hard times, your country,
It
right?
has been for many decades, and
Right.
unfortunately, yeah.
That's so sad to know. So are you doing any charity, any social work to improve education in your country?
Oh, I wish I could say yes. I used to be very involved, but I am more involved on the side of environmental awareness in South Africa. So I'm on the board of an organization called Ocean Pledge, where we're seeking to reduce single-use plastic into our oceans and educate people on that. So in a way, the outreach I do that is to do with education is I teach young environmental ambassadors how to speak so they can get their message out there. And we go into underserved schools and teach them my course. And so that's my little bit that I do.
Little bit contribution.
Yeah.
Right. So are you ready to contribute online to the global world if the same
Oh,
things?
gosh, I would be very interested to look at what possibilities existed.
Right. So, okay. So you were talking about your personal public speaking book that I missed out. What's the name of your book?
It's called Present with Power, and it's one that I use in my courses. I haven't made it commercially available yet, but it's something I'm looking to do this year and start working on a second book based on lessons learned in winning the world championships and some different takes on how to write a winning speech.
Right. So we can't get the copy of your book at the moment.
No, but what I will do is I'm going to give you a link. If people want to sign up for my mailing list, you'll get a lovely free ebook on how to write a winning speech. And when the book is ready to launch, you'll get first access.
Right. So anybody who's interested in getting emails, newsletters from Verity, so you can just get in touch with her and you'll be getting free stuff on public speaking. That's
I
nice.
like it.
Right. So
I'll
that's
pop
been
it in the chat and you can pop it in on live for whoever wants it.
right. So
There you
Verity.
go.
Okay. We have okay. So Verity, can you please tell me a few things about uh, life coaching? If you know, like you hired a coach on public speaking and you also coach people one on one. What is one on one life coaching or public speaking coaching? What is this?
Well, I would say life coaching and public speaking coaching are very, very different because a life coach is holding you accountable to your goals and overcoming your obstacles. Whereas a one-on-one public speaking coach is helping you specifically with speaking. And in my case, generally with a specific speech that you're working on, and we need to make it as incredible as possible. So I'm often working with people that have maybe entered a competition where part of they have to present their work to their colleagues, and then they're helping me to work on that speech, or they're speaking at a big gala conference and all their sponsors and clients are there and they need to sound good. And so my job is to help them build their confidence and deliver the best speech possible.
Right. So if there is a big event coming up or a big conference is coming up, so a representative of a company or a boss can get in touch with you and you can improve their public speech. Right. So
Yeah.
tell me, how much time does it take to for a one-on-one coaching session?
So I do this a lot. So I'm often with people 3 to 5 sessions if they've got an event coming up. Sometimes we can do it in as little as 3 sessions, but 3 to 5 sessions, and a session is an hour. So
Right.
it really, and they can send me recordings. I look at what they've done. They send me what they've written. We refine it. We make sure that they're meeting the objectives of the event.
Right. So 3 to 5 sessions are enough to work on one speech.
Yeah.
Right. So what details do you pay attention to if somebody is coming to you and showing their speech? What details do you pay attention to? General things
Their,
you can tell me.
their authenticity, their message, and their storytelling.
All right.
So
Perfect.
my job is to help them access that. So often when the speeches arrive, it's got all the great content, it's everything they need to be saying, but I don't know what the message is. I'm like, what are you trying to say here? So we get down to that core message. And then I'm always going, is there a story you could tell here? How has this affected you personally? Let's draw the audience in. And through that journey, we generally access their authenticity. So those are
Right.
my three things that I'm passionate about.
Right. So when the clients come to you to work with you on their speeches, so what are the common weaknesses you find in people? What are the common problems that you find in people public speaking?
So the common problem across the board that I've seen for over 10 years is people try to put too much into their speech. So they've been given 10 minutes or 15 minutes and they've got just all of this that they're trying to shove into the poor audience who aren't going to be able to digest it. So my job is to look at all of that and be their editor. Go, what is the crucial thing that you're saying? Let's work on that. Let's say it powerfully. So in essence, and this is maybe where my experience as a professional singer and songwriter comes in, I help people write pop song speeches. It needs to be a pop song. People need to remember what you said. It needs to be going over in their mind when you're finished. And if you put too much in, they're not going to remember. So I'm here to go, how do we make it bite-sized and really accessible?
Right. So this is the common problem that people try to put too much in. Right. They have got 5 to 10 minutes in to prepare, to present, and they try to put so much in. The same thing
Like
happens.
45 minutes worth of stuff into that 5 minutes. They're like, ugh.
Right. Okay. So how do we get to know that it's too much or it's okay?
If you're struggling to get through it when you're speaking, if you feel like you're rushing, if you are losing track and you can't deliver your speech without reading your notes, you've probably got too much in. So a good rule of thumb is 3 to 5 points, whether you're doing a 5-minute speech or a 45-minute speech. If you're going more than 5 things that you're touching on, your audience is not going to remember it. And even if you touch on 5 points, there's still one message, one thing that you want them to know, do, or feel when you finish speaking, not 5. So that's the challenge. Am I saying one thing and using 5 points to illustrate it?
Right. So lots of people here are also confused about, do we have to memorize word by word or we can just read it and go along?
There's times when reading a speech is completely fine. We see it at big awards ceremonies but it's spoken to the audience. It's not just read. It's still conversational. It's very useful to learn how to internalize a speech. So that doesn't mean it's word for word, but it does mean you know exactly where you're starting, the journey you're going on, and where you're finishing. And when you can see that in your mind without the notes, then you can speak from the heart and touch all the points that you want to touch. So again, that's why a simpler speech is easier to deliver. But it's incredibly liberating to get away from your notes and to be able to just speak from the heart and trust that you know where you're going. I think we hold on to those notes because we're like, what if I lose my place? This is the journey. And again, Toastmasters helps you build that skill.
Right. So we don't have to go for word speech. We have to internalize it. Right. Wonderful. So when people are struggling with the first part of their speech, like the warm-up type, right? So what is the best way you suggest me and people here watching you to improve their first impression as a public speaker?
So your introduction is key because that's what decides if your audience is going to stay engaged or not. So there's a couple of things you can do. With a live audience, I always err on the side of asking a question because I like, if I've got everyone nodding and laughing really quickly, that helps me. So the cheesy thing that you'll see a lot of speakers do, put up your hand. And I know it sounds cheesy, but if you can get the audience to put up your hand, they've leaned in, they're agreeing with you. And then the question that you ask needs to be guaranteed to get a yes from everyone or a no from everyone. You don't want to ever divide your audience. So asking questions like, who here is afraid about, what the future might hold if we don't sort out global warming? I'll just use that as an example. A lot of people are going to go, yeah, I am afraid. I don't know what that means. Now you've got them. So find a question that's going to get a yes, and general things like who's excited to be here? Who's looking forward to the weekend? It can be as small as that. It needs to still be relevant to your speech. Or you can also start with a short story. So something that quickly draws the audience in and sets the stage for what you're going to speak about. So there's some people like to start with quotes. It can work, but rather put yourself into the introduction. I find a startling question, a statement that gets people's attention, makes them sit up. If you said, in 2 years' time, everyone in this room is going to be unemployed, they would go, what? And then you say, I'm only joking. Actually, this is how I'm going to help you save money for your future, or whatever it is. So just really look at, are you interested by the introduction you've written? And if you haven't, run it past a friend, workshop it, see if you can improve it.
Right. How about starting with a joke? Starting your funny speech with a joke?
You can. So again, as long as it's relevant to the speech. So I'm doing 2 keynotes after this in India, and I think in Minnesota. I'm not sure. I'm all around the world today. It's wonderful. And the start of that keynote, after I've asked a question, because I'm speaking about winning. So I ask people who likes winning. Everyone's going to say yes. So I've got my yes. And then I tell them a joke about a man who liked winning. And it gets me into my speech, and it sets the premise, because it's a joke about winning the lottery. And he always wanted to win, and he's waiting to win. And why don't I win? And I never win. And then one day he says, why don't I win? And a voice says, you might want to buy your ticket.
Right.
And that's the premise of the only reason I'm world champion is because I bought my ticket. I put my name in the hat. I entered the contest. You're not going to win anything if you don't get in. So use your joke to make your point. So just don't put a joke in just to put a joke in. Make sure it ties in with your message and that you can refer back to it as you go throughout your speech.
Right. So when we start with a question or a quote, maybe with a joke, it must have a point. Okay, I got it. So what if some people, they're confused, like when they have a story in their speech, so they think that the 3 stories might be good for your speech, one in the introduction, one in the body, and one in the conclusion. So do we have to put in too many stories, or one story may be good for the speech?
I think each speech is unique. And, I won the world championship with one story, but there were some little moments within it. There are other speeches where people use numerous stories. As long as your stories are illustrating the points you're making and they're short and easy to follow and not long-winded, where's this going? So that's where the craft comes in, to write them in an engaging way. Then I don't think there's a rule as to how many stories you should or shouldn't have. But again, the rule of 3 to 5 will help you. If you've suddenly got 15 stories, it might be too much for your audience to follow. And then they're not going to enjoy that great story you told at the beginning, because now they're trying to remember all the ones you're putting in. So rather deliver 3 beautifully crafted stories that illustrate your content than lots, because you just think I must tell stories.
Right. So in every speech, we have different types of people sitting to listen and watch. So there are a number of people difficult to handle. So what do you say about handling difficult audiences?
So I suppose virtually they could be difficult in the chat. Live, you might have people that are not clapping, not responding, or they're being rude. So it can throw us off our game as speakers. And this is where I'm so grateful for Joe, who taught me to be okay with things not being okay and with things going wrong. Yeah. The thing that works for me is to acknowledge it. So, and if there's a video of mine online where I won the Southern African District for evaluations in 2015. And you can see in the evaluation, I'm telling the speaker to get the audience to react. I'm giving him advice that he should have worked with the audience better. And then I demonstrate it by showing what I mean, and then the audience doesn't react. And I go, oh, come on, people. And then they laughed and they gave me what I wanted. But if I'd felt awkward because now I've asked them to say something and they've ignored me, everything starts to fall flat. So something where people don't put their hands up and say, oh, wow, you haven't put your hand up. You've obviously got a really good life coach. That's fantastic. And they're like, ha, 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 I'll put my hand up. So acknowledge it. Can you make light of it? Or, how do you work with it? Sometimes I've had difficult audience members where they're questioning, and I will say to the rest of the audience, this is a big question. Does everyone else feel the same? And if they all say no, then I don't need to worry about that one person anymore. Let me speak to the rest of my audience. So it's a challenging one, but our job is to start strong, speak to universal themes where even difficult people would go, yes, I like winning. Yes, I want to have a happy life. It's easier to manage if you keep it connected.
Right. Universal themes. That's a great answer from your side. And be okay with things not being okay. Two great lessons. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. One question about your winning speech. When you were participating in World Championship, so due to COVID-19, it was all online.
Yeah.
So do you regret that why was it online? It should have been face to face, or you are okay with that?
I'm so okay, Sami. I would not be the world champion if it hadn't been online. I had a small baby. I had actually left Toastmasters to become a mother. And the only reason I rejoined was a club of mine was struggling, and I rejoined to help them, and I could because it was virtual. And so then competing, I could compete from my bedroom and I didn't have to leave my child. So for me, it was a real gift that it was virtual. I wouldn't have had the capacity to do a live contest.
Right. So when people are speaking virtually, like they're used to virtual sessions, and all of a sudden they have to face a large number of people. So do they lose confidence? Like if you are invited to be with 10,000 people on a stage or in a stadium, and you have been doing online sessions, how would you do that?
I think that is an adjustment for a lot of people, especially if you've started your speaking journey during these times. Luckily for me, I've got all those years of stage experience, so it's a bit like riding a bicycle. But I think if you know that you've got something coming up in front of people and you're nervous, that's where the practice matters. And if it's just calling some friends to come and look at you and have real people that you practice to, get your brain comfortable with real people in front of you again. So set yourself up for success. Don't wait for the event to suddenly realize, oh, this is scary. I'm used to the chat box and like little black pictures. Like what's happened? So I think set up some time to practice and get in front of people again, just to customize your brain to it.
Right. So practice is the key. So Verity, when you speak or when people speak, and their throat gets dry time and again, and they want water after every 5 minutes. Yeah. After every 5 minutes, they want a sip of water. So what, is it a bad side of public speaker, or it's all okay?
If you're okay with it, the audience will be okay with it. Yes. If you can make a joke about it, and so again, this is the authenticity, because things do go wrong, and our body, when we're speaking, it lets us down. The first time I ever spoke, my one leg, I looked like I was Elvis Presley. It just wouldn't stop shaking. I had no control. So I said to the audience, oh my word, look at me. I'm doing an Elvis Presley move. They laughed. I laughed. Everything was fine. So I think if you are going, guys, you know what? I'm going to be hydrating the whole time I'm speaking to you today. And we know 8 glasses. I'm getting it in. Thanks so much. Have a sip, put it down. Whoa, I need another glass. If you can actually bring that in rather than, and then I just, as I was saying, that's what's going to make your audience feel uncomfortable. So if you can just go, I'm nervous. And you know what? They're so glad it's not them that's speaking. They're so grateful to you for being the person speaking, because it is the number one fear. People are more afraid of speaking than they are of dying. You just being up there and saying, I need to drink water to be up here, no one's going to hold that against you.
Right. So would you give the same answer about breathing pattern? Some people lose their breathing when they're speaking on the stage. They're out of breath.
Yeah. And it could be just taking a few breaths, And feel free to do it with me. Let's all breathe together. I mean, again, there's an opportunity to connect. That's a humor moment almost. Like, is anyone else's heart racing? I feel like mine's about to jump out my chest. And I think your audience is like, oh, you're so real. I'm with you. I want you to win. So for all of us, I think our biggest problem is we are taught to always look like everything's fine. Yes. And look, let's be honest, life is not always fine. And we love the people who admit that it's not. So this is the space to go, it's not quite working out. I'm needing to take a breath. I'm actually going to turn my back. I know I'm meant to maintain eye contact, but can I not look at you guys for, imagine if someone did that, people would love them. If you were doing it authentically and there was that playfulness, people would be cheering you on. So acknowledge it. Acknowledge that you're struggling. That is easier for people to deal with than you like pretending that it's not happening, because then everyone's dying for you.
Right. Wonderful. And before we stand up to go to the stage,
I'm hydrating.
Right. Before we stand up to go to a stage, like you've been invited by the host to come to stage and start speaking, we get a lot of stress. And when we can't handle that, what do you think about it? Is having stress positive or negative?
So stress means that you care. So nerves mean that you care. And so a few things to maybe bear in mind, and this could be quite useful. Our brains process terror and excitement in exactly the same place. So you could have two people standing on the edge of a bridge about to bungee jump. One feels excited, the other one feels terrified, but it's actually the same part of their brain. So if we can start telling ourselves a different story about the nerves, going, okay, my heart's racing, my hands are sweating, I must be excited to share my message right now. I must be excited that I've spent so much time working on this and all these people are here to listen to me. And yes, it's scary, but it's also exciting. This is an opportunity. That helps you to just write a different story about the nerves. And then physiologically, things that will help with the nerves are to open your body up. And this is, if you ever watched Amy Cuddy's work on body language, a beautiful TEDx talk, open your body up. So, if you can, be in a power pose. And I always get my students to do that. We do that. But sometimes you can't do that. But just go, if I'm sitting and I'm about to go on, and if I'm sitting like this, I've told my body I'm in danger. If I just sit like this and then breathe before you go. And the big trick with breathing to calm the nerves is breathe out more than you breathe in. When we breathe in and hold our breath, we tell ourselves we're not safe. So that's what we do. So breathe in and then breathe out.
Right.
Telling yourself you're excited and you're safe while sitting like this. But little things like that can help. Just noticing your body, make sure you're breathing out, breathe in for 4, breathe out for 8, and just tell yourself a different story. Yeah, I'm nervous. I must be excited. This is an opportunity. I'm growing. I'm out of my comfort zone. How cool is that?
Great. That's great. So, Verity, the time has just flown. 1 hour seems to be a minute here. 8 minutes in my hands. We have to wrap up the session. So any message from your side, the message from world champion of public speaking from South Africa to the people of Pakistan, any message?
My message is, if there's any area of your life that you are wanting to win in, you have to buy your ticket. You sign up for that course, you put your name in the hat, you put yourself in that uncomfortable new space of growth. And that's the only way anything's going to change. And you can take it from me. You are not guaranteed the win, but you are guaranteed the growth. I'd entered this contest many times before. I might not have won it last year. I was very lucky that I did. But the growth came because I bought my ticket, because I backed my dream. I got out my comfort zone. I turned my terror into excitement. And I just kept being okay with not always being okay. That's the choice and the chance that all of us have. The results, that bit sometimes is out of our hands, but you will never know where you could have gotten if you hadn't started. So buy your ticket.
buy your ticket is your message, and I'm really, really thankful to you for a great message to the people of Pakistan here. And before we say goodbye, so would you like to give me a little bit of feedback about my presence with you? How has it been? Right?
It's been delightful, Sami. You listen so attentively. You reflect back on what I've said. Sometimes you see more in it than what I've said. And I just loved your questions. I feel like you've really considered your audience and what it is that they want to know and learn. And I've actually learned a few things just through my answers because you've asked me questions I haven't been asked before. So you're an absolutely fantastic host.
All right. Thank you very much for being here with me. And it was a really great pleasure to be with you. And it was a great session. I am so thankful to you. And this is a time to say goodbye from here, okay, Pakistan. And I hope to catch you for the in a few more sessions if we have the schedules are matching. So I hope you will be happy to be back with me.
Absolutely. I'd love to. I've
All
loved this
right.
conversation.
Right. And in the end, I want to say that I want to offer a few of your programs that you are offering online to the people of Pakistan. So for that, I'll be in touch with you, and I hope to be a bridge between you and the people willing to improve.
I would love that. And so exciting for me to meet people from such different parts of the world and to share our connected humanness.
Right. So thank you very much, Verity, for being here, and thanks a lot, and have a very good day, and goodbye from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sami. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. All
Fabulous.
right.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah, take care, Verity. So all the people in Pakistan watching me here with Verity, it was my effort with Verity. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any question or anything you want me to answer or you want Verity to answer, you can just comment, email me or WhatsApp me, and I'll be making sure that Verity gets the question and she answers it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone. Here's Sami.
Allah.